Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the fights for UFC 221 Romero versus Rockhold. And without further ado, let me get into it. I'm going to predict the five main card fights. So let's start. In the first fight, we have Tyson Pedro versus Safarov in the light heavyweight division. And I'm going to pick Tyson Pedro in this fight. I like how aggressive Safarov is. He has some pretty good power in his punches. And he pretty much comes to brawl, comes to bang. He's a warrior. But Tyson Pedro has always fought in better competition. His last fight was Ilir Latifi, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not incorrect. And Ilir Latifi is a much better fighter than Safarov. He's a well-rounded, very strong wrestler, very hard, like heavy hands in the fight. And I think that fight went to decision. So I don't think Safarov could offer him anything that Ilir Latifi didn't offer him. I see Tyson Pedro is a bigger fighter, much younger fighter, much more talented fighter. And I just see him pretty much being able to weather and avoid most of Safarov's aggression and using his full, well-rounded skill set, whether it be to grapple with Safarov or pretty much pick him apart from distance. I see Tyson Pedro winning this fight via like a second round TKO. Then in our next fight, we have Jake Matthews versus Jingliang or whatever. Jingliang. I'm sucking with names right now, but you know who that is in the welterweight division. And I'm gonna pick Jingliang in this fight. I think Jingliang is in his best career momentum right now. He's in his best form in his career right now. He has pretty good striking. It's very crisp. He's a very well-rounded fighter. And Jake Matthews, he's a well-rounded fighter as well, but I don't like his striking too much. I don't like his grappling too much. But he is like a pure MMA fighter, I would say. And so is Jingliang, but I think Jingliang's striking is better. I think he's the more natural welterweight, where Jake Matthews kind of moved up, kind of to see career opportunities at welterweight, where Jingliang is a actual credentialed welterweight. Jake Matthews looked decent in the last fight, but it like kind of started to fade a little bit. Like all he really did in that fight was kind of wrestle, and he kind of got gifted a decision. He did look good going up against a bigger fighter and taking him down, and had success with wrestling at a higher weight class in his first fight, but it wasn't too much of an impressive decision. It's not like he did anything dominant or super impressive, but it was a good win for him to start the division. Where I see Jingliang, I don't think Jingliang has such a deficiency of wrestling. I think he handles wrestlers very well, and he's fought a pretty couple decent wrestlers, and I don't think wrestling has ever been his problem or a problem for him. And I don't think Jake Matthews' striking is enough to cause him too much trouble. So I see in this fight Jingliang just having a crisper, actual better striking in this fight. And Jake Matthews kind of having the loosey, kind of not like really confident or crisp striking yet, hasn't developed it yet. So I think Jingliang be able to defend and pretty much win some of the scrambles and the wrestling and grappling exchanges. And then it's coming down to a striking match. I see Jingliang pretty much start connecting on him and TKOing Jake Matthews in the second round. So I have Jingliang be a second round TKO. Then in our next matchup, we had Tuivasa versus Cyril Asker. And I don't really see nothing too impressive about Cyril Asker. He's a decent sized heavyweight, decent striking, decent grappling, nothing spectacular. Tuivasa is younger, I think a bit bigger. Maybe not just in height, but like as far as overall size, he has weight on him. But he also has, but even despite the weight on him, he moves very fast. He's very fluid, very explosive. I think he's much more athletic than Cyril Asker. I think his striking is better. I think their grappling is about the same. So this fight, I think Tuivasa's pressure would be too much for Cyril Asker. And I see him eventually just connecting with him and pretty much knock him out in the first round. First round knockout for Tuivasa. I don't think Cyril Asker can handle what Tuivasa will bring. And then in our next matchup in the heavyweight division, we have Mark Hunt versus Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes is a pretty good prospect in the division. Nice size for weight class, big, great wrestler. Okay striking, he's developing it. And Mark Hunt, we know what Mark Hunt brings. K1 champion, deadly power, very strong, kind of deficient in wrestling at times. So I think in this fight, that's what pretty much will come down. Well, how effective can Curtis Blaydes be with his wrestling? Now I think he'll be very effective. I think maybe at the start he'll have some scares, but once he starts taking Mark Hunt down or having success in the clinch, I think he'll start going towards Curtis Blaydes, like where Curtis Blaydes wants the fight to go. I think if he scores one takedown, I think more will come, and he'll be able to edge out Mark Hunt on the decision due to his wrestling and top control. and it'd be a close, gritty decision, but Curtis Blaydes wrestling will get him the W in the fight in this fight. So I have Curtis Blaydes via 3-round decision over Mark Hunt in our co-main event. And then into our main event, we have Romero versus Luke Rockhold for the interim middleweight title. So in this fight, it's a lot of, like, I say this fight is really 50-50, depending on how that plays out. I don't really like Luke Rockhold's offensive wrestling. And I don't like, I don't like Luke Rockhold's offensive wrestling, but I do like his top control. If he manages to get on top of Romero, whether it be Romero gets tired or makes a slip up, or maybe Luke Rockhold actually gets a good takedown in there and he gets on top, I think it's a wrap, because Luke Rockhold had, like, probably in the division, if not the first, not the best, probably the second best top control in the division, and probably top 5 top control in the whole sport. He's very dangerous from top control. Once he gets on top of you, it's like you can't even really move. He just clamps down on you, and the pressure is just too much. You just get flattened out and wrecked. So if he gets on top of you, Romero, it's a wrap. But I don't really like Luke Rockhold's offensive takedowns. They aren't the best. They're kind of telegraphed, and he needs to work on that. I don't like Luke Rockhold. Sometimes Luke Rockhold has very impressive striking and very good power in his strikes, but sometimes he's somebody who watches and enjoys his work too much. So he doesn't really do too many combinations. He might do one kick at a time, or might feint and do his favorite question mark kick, or he might do this. So it's not too much confusion. I think Romero has pretty good reflexes. So just based off Rockhold drawing strikes that don't really have too much setup or too many feints to throw them, I think Romero will be able to see through those strikes. So that's kind of where the little question mark comes into the part. Like, that's where the question comes to. Will Luke Rockhold even be able to be effective with strikes? He has all these great strikes and he has the range, but does he have necessarily enough that it will allow him to be effective against Romero? And Romero is very active, very moving, very loose, very explosive. So he has very good quick twitch muscles and good instinct. So he'll be able to see through a lot of Luke Rockhold's fast kicks and stuff. I see it. And plus with the little kick he took up from John Jones, the little knee kick, that will shut down a lot of Luke Rockhold's kicks for the most part, especially his forward pressure. And I don't like Luke Rockhold's chin either in this fight. Romero is very explosive. He can change the fight at any moment. And Luke Rockhold's chin has been very suspect. And his defense isn't the best. But I think I'm kind of leaning to Luke Rockhold based off just cardio and being a former champion and probably being a younger fighter. It seems that in this fight, you kind of lean into Luke Rockhold in more ways. Luke Rockhold could win by submission. Luke Rockhold could win by knockout. Luke Rockhold could win by decision. Romero, when you think about this fight, Romero is probably not going to win via submission. He probably won't win via the 5-round decision because his cardio will probably fade. His only real way to win is via knockout. So that's kind of where it's questionable to pick Romero in this fight. So I think that in this fight, Luke Rockhold will pretty much be able to, if he could weather the storm and maybe start, when Romero starts slowing down a bit, he'll be able to land more of his kicks to the body, maybe question mark kick Romero in the head, start keeping him guessing. Then as Romero starts weathering out, maybe he'll be able to secure a takedown and either finish him with like a TKO or a secure submission in this fight. So in this fight, I'm gonna go with Luke Rockhold via 3rd round submission after a pretty highly contested fight for the first 2 rounds, with plenty of scares going in the first 2 rounds. Then by the 3rd round, I think Luke Rockhold will find his groove, and Romero will start to slow down. I'm talking like Scooby-Doo. Luke Rockhold will start to pick up his pace and see the openings and see the opportunity and capitalize on it and take Romero out via 3rd round submission once he gets him down after weathering him out. And that completes my predictions for UFC 221. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more fight predictions and other types of videos.